So the neighborhood heights issue. I'm on page 26 of the 9212 report, and I appreciate it. I think you did a good job with examining the nuances, and I'd like to ask you about some of those nuances because I think this is going to be a major issue when people are evaluating this. As you correctly noted at the outset of your presentation, so in layman's terms, and correct me if I'm mischaracterizing this, I believe what you're saying is that it looks like on the face of the language, you're increasing special areas height outside of special areas to 45 feet. However, council does have the discretion, and this is where nuance comes in, right? Around the 25, bottom of page 25, top of page 26 of the report, we do have the discretion to go ahead and say, look, we're not going to increase the heights as already stated in other parts of our code and ordinance if it's already there. However, there are a couple of exceptions to our ability to do this. And you named P-res zoning as well as an R3 zone, multifamily housing. However, and I think there's this additional layer on top of that. However, if we decided to utilize that discretion, it looks like we would be adding potential legal liability upon ourselves in case a resident that did have a home in one of these other neighborhoods wanted to go ahead and challenge our discretion based upon saying that we do have this discretion to keep it at 30 feet as opposed to what it looks like the face of this initiative is saying. Are those all accurate statements according to what your analysis is telling us?
It's highly nuanced, but essentially yes.
Okay. So do you have an idea of if we were to utilize our discretion and keep those neighborhood heights down, approximately how much of our neighborhoods would be affected with respect to those areas that we cannot go beneath 45 feet for the reasons that you state in the 9212 report?
So you're talking about for the P-res?
Yes.
And I would say for the
how much of our city
we tried to get a handle on that before the deadline, and we just were not able to do it in the time.
Okay.
I don't know if staff has been able to progress on that to identify, quantify.
Do you have a sense of, is it more than half? Is it a pretty, is it a majority? Is it a very insignificant amount? I mean, any kind of qualitative, vague description?
I'm looking at staff because we didn't look in detail at your
know.
zoning code. We looked at the initiative and the general plan.
Okay. So we have some discretion to hold these heights. Along with that discretion comes a little bit of legal liability, apparently, and you're not really sure about how much of the city that would affect, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, with a more detailed analysis, it might be possible to identify those exact.
Oh, sure, I'm sure it's possible, and I would request that we find out, just tangibly speaking, how much land mass, percentage-wise, we're talking about. Maybe even talk about how many lots would be affected by that. And the question is, if we utilize the discretion that we have under this report's analysis, over how many neighborhoods or percentage land mass of Cueprtino or lots would we not have the discretion to reduce those heights from 45 feet to 30 feet? Okay. So I guess to simplify the question, P-res and multifamily, how much of that is Cueprtino? That's it.
All right. I wanted to follow up on what Councilmember Paul said. So when you say P-res, are you meaning R1 and R3 or any other areas that I'm missing? And that's more of a staff question for our Director of Community Development. Or anyone?
No. The P-res is a different zoning, planned residential. It's P, which is planned development, and then the res, R-E-S. It's a separate zoning. R1, R3 are zoning districts amongst themselves. So it's something separate.
Okay, because for some reason I read somewhere in the 9212, and probably I don't remember what page it was that I thought in R1 that they can also go up to 45 feet or not?
I think that's the nuanced discussion that Councilmember Paul was talking
So
about.
this is what they're saying. In the 9212 report, it says that we as a council would have discretion within certain areas to go ahead and say we're not expanding it above 30 feet. Apparently R1...
R1 is 28 feet right now.
Right, or 28 feet, as the case may be. But there are some areas, is what this report says, that we would not have that discretion because because the rest of our ordinance and code does not speak to anything that would allow us to, as it exists right now, say it is below 45 feet. See?
Okay, so I'm a little bit confused because I thought when you say P-res is a very open-ended question versus R1, R3, or R whatever is more specific. So when you say P-res, it's just like an open-ended book.
Yeah, I don't think it's open-ended book. R1 and R3 are residential zoning districts. In
Correct.
addition, you have a planned development district, which is sort of an overlay.
Understood.
It's called PD. You call it P, and P-res is a subset. It doesn't include R1, R3. It's just there are areas that are specifically zoned P-res.
Okay. So this does not apply to R1.
So P-res, we would have no discretion under your analysis to make it below 45 feet. All these other neighborhood areas, you think we would have discretion, but it may become a litigatable issue in the future.
Yeah, and if I could speak to that and for a moment. I mean, as you all
And
know,
I want to go back to my question: that does this apply to R1 or not?
it does not apply to R1. What I just said does not apply to R1.
Okay, thank you.